Yeah, he's pretty good about knowing it's not until after. But that has always been his reward, being allowed to roll. Ritz? No. No. Yeah. No. Okay. So at each one, we'll do a different transition, whether it's a hoe, a walk, or a trot. He can walk, trot, canter beside you, but obviously I'm not going to have you canter with him. We're not going to try until we have a good stop with you. We're not going to try the trot though. Okay. And he can stop on a dime. So your hoe, I'll show you what he does know so you know what to look for. Okay. So hoe. So we'll stop at that one. Hopefully he'll figure out the lumps here. Hoe. 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 Pay attention. Hey. Good boy. So he's very in tune. It's a matter of getting him in tune with you. His hoe, as you can hear, is a bark. It's not a singing thing. It's not a friendly thing. It should be startling. And when I go forward, I always ask with my hand forward, and then I give a little lean in my body, as you would need to anyway, to get your own body going. Good boy. And then when we get to where we could possibly trot, that's just while you're already walking, you'll lean forward more. You're funny, boy. Okay. So if you want to, I can either bark them out, or we can just say walk to each cone and hoe at each cone. Yeah. The nice thing is that once I get them all out, they won't regrow. You know, like in New York, it was like no matter how often you picked up rocks, more would show up. This is put here, so it's not going to come out of the ground. Once I get them out, it'll be good. I've got sod chunks in here too. But freeze free. Free. Okay. So walk for each one. See if your departures can be, on the money, and see if your hose can be like he stabs the ground for a hoe. Good. So we want him to keep up with you the best. So you're going to lean your hand forward first. Yep, there you go. Then he'll know that that's his departure cue. Good. Good. Now back up together. Put a little wiggle so he knows. A little wiggle, not a pull back, a little wiggle. There you go. Not a pull back, a little wiggle. So just bump the line, yeah, like that. Yeah, like it got coins in your hand, and you just want to bump it up and down. There you go. Good. Good. Okay. So for me, it's always letting them know what is being expected of them in that moment. So if I put my hand forward, I know now that he knows to walk forward. Yep. Busy looking out the window. So now before we decide we want to try trotting, what we can do is we can try different speeds of the walk. He has multiple, he's a Tennessee walker. He can walk 12 miles an hour. So he should be with you. Don't leave him behind. Good. Now, if you saw, this back foot actually slid to a stop, and that's the kind of stuff that I look for. I look for them making these sliding type stops that lets me believe they knew they were actually supposed to stop. Yeah, he should keep up with you. Good. So don't let him fall behind. Tell him with your hand forward that he needs to keep up with you. So he has to believe that it matters to you where he's at. Otherwise, he's just going to pick his own spot. So put your hand forward and insist he keep up. There you go. He needs to understand the importance of his partnership with you. Okay, so for him, he's not going to understand, like you're taking this line and you're bringing it right up here. Chances are he's going to yield his hindquarters. It's always a wiggle to stop him. So anything steady pressure, eventually he can understand. If I pull on him, he'll figure out that I want him to do that, but I don't teach him that way. So like for him, that's a simple backup. Oh boy. So just try to imagine you got a handful of coins and you just want to jiggle the coins in your hand, and that'll be able to teach, they'll have him back up for you. Okay, so now what's actually happening is he's deciding you don't really care how important it is. That's why he's starting to kind of leak forward at his stops instead of stabbing his stops. So this time when you get to this cone, I want you to pretend like there's a kink in the hose up by the snap. Yep, and I want you to do that when you say ho. So you're going to go ho, and that'll tell him that it's just as important that he ho for you as it is that he ho for me. Because right now he's figuring out where your weaknesses are and he's taking advantage of that. That's why he's starting to leak forward when you ho. I don't want you to get rough with him. I just want you to be clear. Better. Good, good. So see, his ho is, he went like this, and then all his weight rocked back, which meant I'd plan on staying until further instructions. If he were to be leaning up over his knees, then he's not really planning on sticking around, right? So like with Snickers, if you start doing this with Snickers, if you find you told him to ho, but Snickers has a lot more whoa than go, at least in the arena. So chances are he'll either like just stay there, but if he has a lean over his knees, you want to teach him to rock back off his knees. And then you can come into your So were you there when I told Donna the easiest way to deplete your energy? Came up with this like 2 weeks ago, and I'm so proud of myself because I love it. Is like when you asked your mom if you could stay up an extra hour and she said no. Right? So that's the best way to give a full release to a horse, because your body has to drain of all energy, even energy you don't realize you have. When you consciously drain your energy, like as if you were defeated by a situation, then the horse will be able to feel the relief of your pressure.
I know when we were at the lesson beforehand.
Right, yep. Yeah, because that's right. I had said at one Ritz, he was taught how to fetch cones. It's not the game. Yeah, that's why I said at the one point when we were past you, I said what he's going to do is he's going to learn what you're going to do before you tell him to hoe, because she would drop this shoulder and throw this one back and get ready to do the hoe. So he was going to learn all that body language. That's the thing, is that they learn your body language so well that as long as it's consistent, which that was consistent, he's going to learn to hoe when she does that. Yeah. You're not playing with the cones today, buddy. Sorry, not today. Another time. Another time, not today. Okay. So yeah, all your focus, the horse should be right with you no matter what, so you shouldn't need to look back. He should be here. You should see the corner, like the edge of his eye should be up here. So there's no reason to be looking back behind you in any way. I think a lot of trainers teach horses to walk behind you. I think asking a horse to walk behind you when they have very little respect for humans is stupid. I think it's not safe. Because all you will be is a speed bump when something scares them. Okay. Kind of in between those two. So kind of in the groove. Right here. So right here. Yep. So like kind of where his heel is at the arch of your foot. You don't want your toes together, and you don't want your heel at his toe. So you want your arch of your foot to be equal with his heel. With his toe, I'm sorry. So right where you are right now. Now, he did not leave with you. So in a case like that, what I would do is I would stop him again and explain to him that I'm expecting him to depart when I tell him to depart. And then you have to double check yourself. Did I put my hand out? Did I kiss to go? Make sure it wasn't lack of information from you before you start offering a new lesson. So this time, put your hand forward, kiss to go. At the same time you step, if he doesn't take that step when you lift your toe off the ground, then I want you to swing it back, the end of the rope, yep, and expect him to respond to, yep. Yep, there you go. Good. Good. And don't make adjustments for him. He has to make the adjustments for you. So if you want to walk faster, he has to adjust to your speed, not the other way around. So now, get to the next cone, and then at that next cone, what we're going to do is we're going to do a grandpa walk. We're going to actually start from that cone, and then we're going to take one step at a time without too much rocking back, because we don't want him to think you're going to suddenly ask him to back up. But we're going to take 1, 2, 3, and you're going to expect him to be in time with you. Ritz, we're not playing with cones today, buddy. That's the dangers of teaching them different things with the same obstacle. So this is going to be what I call the grandpa walk. And you're going to literally walk one step at a time. Good boy. Yep, get his face out of your space. There you go. So your hand did not go forward, so he did not know he was allowed to go. So that's the important part. Yep, there you go. So your body was still, I mean, he should have hoed to the word, but your body was still in motion when you said ho. So you have to be coming to a stop as well. Nope, it has to be the leading hand, the hand that has the rope. There you go. Yep, his departures are a little slow, but. So you did, yep, you gotta tell him to go. He's gotta have the instructions. There you go. Okay, so you can drive his nose away if you want to get him straight. And he knows the over command, so he can be told to bring his hindquarters back towards you. Yep. So anytime you're making a turn where he's on the outside, he has to work a little bit harder than you. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna. Eyes are out finally. Not finally. Not finally in a good way, but okay. So we're gonna do driving and draw turns. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna ask him to drive and draw. So we're gonna turn signal and then use like a magnetic field, so to speak. So when we're going to go down this way, we're going to drive him. I should do him tighter, but give you some space. We're going to drive him, so he has to lead the way. When you get over here, you're going to draw him. And the draw is kind of like a sidestep on your part. Sidestep, like it's almost like a half pass, not a side pass. So it's kind of like you're going to still move forward, but you're pulling him with you. Okay, so imagine that your hip is magnetically attached to his shoulder, and you're drawing him with you. And then you're going to drive him back that way. So if you want, I could show you what I mean, or you can give it a whirl. Okay. And when you get to the ends, what you could do is you could do a sending turn. So let's say this was the end, and you just drove him, so he's on this side. You're going to stop at the cone and send him, and you'll land back up here together. And then you can do a draw turn, a driving turn, a draw turn, and then in that case, you can do a turn signal turn, so that you're going to do all the work, and you're going to turn signal him all the way around the circle that way. So a wiggle can mean a whole bunch of things to him, and usually doesn't mean go, so that got lucky. Yep. Now draw. So now drive him around that. Yep, turn signal, turn signal, turn signal, turn signal, turn. Yep, there you go. Good. Drive him. Draw. Yep, there you go. Yep. Now I can make that more challenging, where it'll be a little bit less forward and a little bit more lateral movements. He's working now, so he knows. Good boy. Okay, so now we can do drive and draw in between them. So now it's not so much forward as it is lateral. So you're going to have to exercise driving his whole body and drawing his whole body. Yes, yep, you're gonna both be on the same side of the cone each time. So now it's gonna be where you're gonna have to control his speed and almost ask for more of a lateral movement, because he's gonna have to almost be half passing through these cones now. So you're gonna be asking more for a half pass than you are gonna be for a forward. Yep. Almost a little too soon on that turn, only because he could have ended up turning on the cone, but he there you go. Yep. At least wait till his legs pass it. Yep. Oh, good. Now they're both driving turns. And then this time it should be ascending turn. Nope, still gonna be driving. So, huh. Yep, that's how you would slow him down. Yep. And the word easy is his slow down, or you could say hey. Hey is a half halt. But hey is also barked a lot like a hoe. Like hey, hey, hey. Oh boy, you're okay. There you go. So it's harder for a Tennessee Walker to do these tighter things. His forward motion is just long. Yep, so in a case like that, you could turn his nose first and then ask for the go. So that way he would have been pointed in the direction instead of you kind of rushing the turn. Yep, so point his nose first and then tell him to go. There you go. Okay, so this time we're going to do them as just where the ends are sending turns. Ooh. So we're going to back them up and we're going to start on that side this time. Nope, that's it. So we're just going to start on that side of it. Yep, yep. Hey. So you can control, so he's not running you into the cones. You can control, you could tell him he has to go towards this wall and then draw him back into the turn. Instead of having to do these real tight against the cones, you could do these wide serpentines. You could do like these kind of serpentines if you wanted to. The only other way to do it to where it could be where it's literally you almost stop him in the middle here and over him. You can stop him in the middle here and drive his whole body sideways. You can stop him in the middle and over, sideways, sideways, sideways. You could do that. Or you can even do it over each cone if you wanted to. The heck? No idea. The watch came without a manual. I'm very upset. So I have to push buttons till I figure out how to use it. Yeah, I'm actually gonna send, because it came from Amazon and it was actually shipped directly from their Amazon warehouse, and it came with put back together with Scotch tape. The box, it's missing the manual, so I'm not really pleased with this purchase. Okay. You got to keep going. Yep. And drive his nose. Yep. Drive his nose. Go. Yep. Kiss means go. So now what you would do is you would raise your right hand up for his hip to come to you, and then your left hand will stay down for that part. And then when you want his whole body to move over, you can put both hands up, one at the wither, one at the hip, point of hip, and his whole body will come over sideways. But first you got to get the hip, otherwise he's not going to know that you want him to go sideways between the cones. Boy. So imagine any part you want to drive, you're going to drive, and any part you want to bring to you, Ritz, Ritz, you're going to call to you. Okay, so go ahead and back him up and then call his whole body through. Oh, Ritz. He can go over that. Ritz, over. Ritz, over. Boy. Yeah, and I can't. I don't know exactly what you're trying to say, so it's hard for me to tell you how to. So what would you want to try to do? What would have been the goal there?
I'm trying to get him so that when he walks,
You can slow him down enough.
and drive his hindquarters around so that he's facing me, come towards me to go around. I'm trying to make big circles.
Okay. While you're still with him, or you're just going to walk down and he's going to do it all? Because you can do that. Right. Because you can even make it a figure eight kind of thing where you're sending him through. Now he obviously can't. You're going to be on the wrong side of him, so you can send him through, circle back, and then send him through, and then send him through, circle back, and he can send him through. Because if he's on the wrong side of you, you're not going to be able to get the backward turn. Nope. Yep, there you go. Yep, and then he does all the work on this one. You could just stand and change hands even, stand at the next cone and just change hands even and send him through. Yep. Yep. Boy. No, he just misunderstood. You weren't doing anything wrong, but I would start with the nose so he knows, and then you can drive the rib cage. So the nose will tell him that you're expecting his body to move away. There you go. Yep, there. There you go. Nope, that'll be over. Nope, over would mean come to you. Yeah, out is good. Ritz. Yep. Over means come to you sideways. Hey? Yeah. Hey is half halt, so yep. There you go. Oh boy. Don't come to me. Okay. So that would be away or out. And you have to get his nose to think of first. Out, 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 out. There. Good boy. But you have to direct his nose first. When you do the over is towards you, and that's the snap. And then he'll come, and that's a hand just kind of up in the air. But when you drive him sideways, out, out, out.
It might not be what I'm looking
Okay.
for. I'm looking
Then you would just drive his front end.
for more in front end.
Oh,
To turn around.
all right. Then you're gonna tip your head like you got water in your ear. So yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're gonna just, oh, hey, So now, nope, yep, there you go. Tip his nose slightly towards you. No, Ritz, no hugs. You can swing the rope out, no hugs. Ritz. Yep. Oh, he's got an itch. Hold on. That was a good one, huh? Yep. Yep. Good. Ritz, no, not right now. Good. Yep. Yep. There you go. Yep. So what I would do in that case is I would at least stay on the outside of his shoulder, because what's happening is you're planting your feet, which is fine, but you're kind of pulling him on top of you, and then you're having a hard time with him. Where when let me just spot on for a second. So like what you want to do here, back. So you want to just stop and high kneel them. Boy. Because what's happening is you're getting under here. Yep, yep. There you go. There you go. Yep. Good. Yep. Good. Because otherwise you're just leaving words out of a sentence if you don't do all of it. It's not fair to ask him to guess what part. There. Good. There you go. Yep. Yep. He can do that crisper than that. So you can put your support out at his tail and see if you can get a crisper yield. There you go. A little bit better. So this time for your yield, take the tail of the rope and just focus it at his tail. There you go. Just don't hit him, but just let him know that you have your support there. Yep. There you go. Good. Good. Yeah, imagine that. Yep, yep. You're I haven't found a better way to come up with it other than like you're trying to get water out of your ear. I'll eventually. Yeah, sometimes it just dawns on me a better way to explain it, but yep. No, there you go. Good. Was pretty. Yep. There you go. So this time, bump the line towards your belly button so his front feet stay still and he doesn't keep, just bump the line towards your belly button so his front feet don't go also. Because what he's doing is he's just kind of doing a swinging turn. And if you're looking for a hind yield, you don't want his front feet to do anything. So like, instead of him feeling like he's supposed to keep going, you're going to give him like a bump towards your belly button with the line. So that'll make just his hind end move. Yep, his nose should clear the cone before he can actually get around it. Good. Good. Now your leading hand, the hand that had the rope in it, would have been better to help him. To understand that he was supposed to follow your lead. Yep, so you would just bump towards your belly button when you want him to, and then simultaneously look at his tail. Bump towards your belly button, look at his tail, then his hind end should do all the work and nothing to do with his front end. So make sure that your focus is strong on his tail. There you go, there it is. But you could wiggle if you needed to, because he's gotten in the habit of thinking that he's doing it right, because he's been allowed to go forward that whole time. So now you have to just clarify it for him that, you weren't being as specific as you need to be, but this way he's not totally wrong, because he's thought he was doing it right. So bump, 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 bump. There you go. And now you can get crisper on how many hind steps he takes, but at least you got the front feet to stop. Yep, yep. Bump, bump. There you go. You can wave for his hind end to move more. The end of the rope would have, use the fan of the end of the rope. It's hard to spit things out in the moment. Okay. So now take the end of the rope and show him. Ritz, not now. See, what's nice is he tells you forgot something, right? Unless you kiss, he's not walking, and he's letting you know you forgot something. So now you're getting back under him again. Try to remember to step out so he can see to move his tail. So step out. Yep, step out so he doesn't get under you. So you want to keep moving. So you're going to, when you send him around, you're going to step out, because you need to be over here anyway. So you're going to step out and yield him from, you were originally here, you wanted to yield him, but you're going to want to be able to let him through there in a minute. So yield his hind end, step out, and then you can continue on. Ugh, they're shedding. Got hair in my mouth. Oh, Tyson. Good. Nine minutes. I gotta figure out how to set the alarms on this thing. That was a little harsh on his nose. There you go. There you go. So that was a bump. The other times was kind of a yank. So that was the way you want to do it. So bump, 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 bump. Good. Good. That was a little bit more of a yank than a bump. So get his nose facing the way you want him to go. Good. So what I usually do is I'll take a gentle feel on the snap and then I'll bump. So I already have a feel of his nose. So like when I send him through, I'll allow him to take a feel on, so because you're going to guide him around anyway, so you want him to take that feel. So now there's a slight tension between you and him. Now your bump is going to be more pleasant than with a lot of slack and then a yank, right? So you already have a feel and then you're just adding a little goose to it. Good boy. Good boy. So before you tell him to go, get his nose pointed in the direction you want him to go. Otherwise, he's just going to go in the direction his nose is pointed. So like if you were to tell him to come to me and you just kiss, he's going to go straight ahead. But if you give him a little turn signal on his nose, turn his nose first and then kiss, he'll go in the direction of his nose. Okay? Yep, yep, yep. Look at his tail. There, that's it. So there, his nose still is pointed at you. So if he had walked on top of you, he kind of wouldn't have done anything wrong. Bump, bump, bump. So it's kind of like you're trying to